Hi everyone, this is Core with minisgallery.com. This is a quick preview of the Dungeons & Dragons Icons of the Realms Seas and Shores miniature set and the Maw of Sekolah. These pre-painted miniatures are made by WizKids and will be released on October 4th of 2023. I would like to thank WizKids for providing me with this set to review. The Seas and Shores core set of miniatures is released in a random booster box format, where one booster box includes 4 miniatures, one of which will be a large size mini. I really like general theme sets like this one, which is themed after aquatic type encounters. Since there are 48 miniatures in this set, and I prefer to keep my reviews short, I will only be commenting on a few select miniatures. While the paint application on the turtle is pretty basic, I really do like this axe-wielding turtle sculpt. The scales on the back and the belly of the Amphisbaena really stand out well due to the dark wash which was applied. This is only the second time we have seen this mini in pre-painted plastic form. The first was in the Pathfinder Battles Maze of Death set, which was released in 2017. The giant crab is a really well painted mini in a common rarity slot. The underbelly areas were painted a light tan color, and the rest was painted orange with a bit of a darker orange used on the shell on its back. A dark wash was applied all over, which really gives this mini a great overall appearance. The merfolk received a good number of paint steps applied to it for a common slot mini. However, my specific mini has a slightly warped trident, which is pretty common to many of the miniatures in this set. While they could cast these weapons in a more rigid plastic, they would then be more prone to breaking, so I think the more pliable plastic was a better option. Usually, such warping can be corrected by first applying heat with either a directed hot air source or with a dip in hot water. After the heated areas of the mini have become quite soft, then hold the heated areas in the newly desired position while dipping it into a bowl of ice water and letting it sit in there for about 1 minute. I think the facial details of the druid were really well captured with the paint that was applied. I really like this druid, however I do wish that they had added one more paint color to this mini's clothing. I really like this sculpt of this Locatha hunter, and although the paint application is fairly basic, I think it overall works well with this mini. Lord Wraith Warrior was cast in a transparent blue plastic and then given a dark wash, which really helps to show off the many details of the sculpt and gives a nice look of etherealness. The water elemental Myrmidon was cast in a transparent blue plastic and then painted in a coppery color, after which blue highlighting was then applied to all raised areas of its armor. The sculpt and the chosen paint application really make this a great looking mini. The Quipper Swarm is a very unique new sculpt, and I am sort of surprised we haven't had any sort of Piranha Swarm pre-painted miniature before. The Sauagan Coral Smasher is quite a colorful character. However, the base green color just seems a little bit overwhelming to me. I think it's a pretty decent sculpt, but I think the overall appearance could have been improved if they had painted the fins a different shade of green. The Swashbuckler is a great multi-purpose type of character that can fit many different roles. My mini appears to be leaning awkwardly to one side. However, I suspect it was not sculpted like this, and likely just needs a little hot and cold treatment to correct the pose. There are many great sculpted details on this Merfolk Scout Mini, such as the helmet and armor she is wearing. She was given a decent paint application, and I think that painting the tail fin a different shade of blue really helps to balance out for the blue color she was primarily painted with. This is a nice pose that the Tiefling Pirate Captain was sculpted in. However, the face seems to be lacking quite a bit of definition. It received a pretty decent paint application and makes a good mini option for a tiefling player character. This was a nice sculpt for the Hydroloth, and it was painted pretty good. Each spike on its back was painted blue, and the highlighting with the yellow around the face and arms was a nice touch. The big round orange eyes really give this mini a great overall look. Alright, in my opinion, this Periton mini is just okay. I much prefer the Periton from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight set. All three WizKids Peritons that have come before this one receive far more interesting paint schemes. Overall, this mini is fine, but given the frequency in which these creatures are encountered, I am sort of surprised how many times we have seen this mini made. The Sahuagin Hatchling Swarm is definitely one of the more unique and fun miniatures in this set. A medium-sized mini fits quite well in the middle of this, which would help to depict the swarming effect. This is a great sculpt of a giant octopus that was given a pretty basic paint application. This is the third pre-painted octopus that WizKids has made, and I like how each one is very unique and different from each other. There are a lot of nicely sculpted and painted details on this hippogriff. While it is probably the smallest hippogriff made, I still think it fits well scale-wise. This is the first Crabfolk mini we have seen, and I really do like the sculpt. Paint-wise, I think there were some missed opportunities to make this very unique mini stand out even more. I think that using at least two different red hues and or some highlighting really could have helped to accent its chitinous areas. The giant eel is a good example where the application of some simple painting techniques can really make a mini look good. The sculpt of this mini has some very tiny scales which are very well defined by the use of a subtle dark wash and then a highlight of a different shade of green. The very fine teeth were all well painted with no sloppy overpainting, and the eyes were stamped on to give this mini an excellent look overall. I feel that this giant lizard is the best lizard mini we have received. The head of this mini has a nice ferocious, almost draconic look to it. It was painted green and given a dark wash, and then a highlight was applied in many areas, which makes all the scales really stand out well. Many of the last few sets of D&D minis have included at least one dinosaur, so it only seems appropriate that one was also included in this set. I had never heard of a Wastrelith creature before seeing it in this set. This is a unique aquatic demon and has a well-deserved spot in this set. I think it could have benefited from having a heavy dark wash applied all over it. The sea lion is yet another creature in this set which is making a debut appearance as a pre-painted miniature in a D&D set. Although there was a very similar appearing sea cat in the Pathfinder Battles Skulls and Shackles set. Filling the first rare slot in this set is the Archdruid. I like the unique pose of this mini, and while the paint application is pretty basic for a rare mini, the tattoos that were stamped on it does give it a really good overall appearance. In my opinion, the blue Abishai is really one of the standout minis in this set. The unique sculpt along with the spell effect cast in translucent blue plastic really gives this mini an awe-inspiring appearance. This is the second Kraken Priest made by WizKids and the first correctly labeled one. There are a lot of great details stamped onto the head and chest of this mini, which just makes it such a better looking mini from its tri-drone predecessor. This is another fun looking sculpt and was given a pretty good paint application, which included painting the fins a different color of green from the rest of the body. The Aarakocra is another notable mini in this set. The uses of highlighting and subtle washers were really well done. The numerous markings on the wings would have been very timely to paint on, but really elevates the overall look of this mini. This is another nice turtle sculpt. As a rare mini, it perhaps could have benefited from a dry brush or other highlighting applied to its shell. I really appreciate the sculpt of this lizard folk queen in the set. This mini has a nice fierce look to it and a lot of nicely sculpted details, including all of its scaly hide. The Spectator is a unique beholderkin, and this is only the second time this has been made as a pre-painted mini, and I really like this version of it. The central eye, which was stamped on, also has sort of a neat bloodshot-like detailing on it. The Pirate Wizard is the only small-size mini in this set. This mini, I think, could be used to portray a good range of halfling or gnome character options. This Marid is sculpted to be erupting from the waters, which is well captured in the sculpt, and also is comprised of transparent blue plastic to simulate the crashing water. The giant seahorse is a nicely sculpted mini which was well painted. The paint application included a subtle highlight on all the raised areas. The silver saddle on the back is removable and is replaced with a lower torso section that comes with the sea elf miniature. The sea elf has a lot of nicely painted and sculpted detail all over it. It also detaches at the waist to be placed on a lower torso section that fits onto the back of the giant seahorse. This aboleth is a perfectly fine sculpt, but for me the paint application just seems to be missing a bit of that wow factor that such a iconic mini in a rare slot should portray. Maybe it needed a little metallic sheen and maybe some highlighting applied to it. The Dragon Turtle Wormling is a pretty decent sculpt, and it received a good paint application. Although it's mainly just painted one shade of green, the highlighting applied to most raised areas really gives it a nice appearance. The very small teeth were all painted well with no sloppy overpainting. And lastly, we have the D&D Icons of the Realms Maw of Sekolah box set, which will also be released on October 4th of 2023. The Maw of Sekolah is a unique monster which may be encountered in the D&D Ghosts of Saltmarsh adventure published by Wizards of the Coast. This is a very unique sculpt and is very nicely painted. The blending technique used towards the belly of this monstrosity really makes the overall appearance of this mini most impressive. And that's it. Please like this video if you found it helpful, and please be sure to subscribe to see more of my quick reviews.